I want to tell you why I'm joining the edgiest communist party in America. What is skibbity my toilets? I want to come on here and talk to you about my weekend with the American Communists at the American Communist Party Rally National Convention 2025, the inauguration of the Central Committee and the official promotion of the Executive Board in Politburo. It was so cool, honestly. Well, I do just want to give my thoughts, and I also want to paint my nails because I've been wanting to paint my nails for a while, so I hope you'll forgive me for multitasking here, but it was the only way I could convince myself. I made sure it was red nail polish because I want to tell you why I'm joining the edgiest communist party in America. No, I want to tell you why I'm joining the edgiest American Communist Party. And you might be asking, what does it even mean? Why are they the American Communist Party? You could watch Haz's official video if you really wanted to hear like his scoop. I'm just gonna give you my version of it, because here's what I really see, right? People have an issue with modern leftism. This is something that we see reflected across multiple contexts, both my own, from a long time of experience, and really hating the theory cells. You know what I mean? The theory cell Marxists. You know, like, one time, if she watches this, I'm so sorry. I love you. I love you. Please don't get mad. But one time, a friend of mine was trying to explain dialectical materialism to me, right? When I was like an even babyer communist. No, I'm talking like a couple years ago, right? Like, this is the beginning of my journey understanding what any of this even means. And she's trying to explain dialectical materialism to me. And I shit you not, she brings up Russian names in the explanation of dialectical materialism. I get it. You understand it in the context of, you know, Russia or China. I understand they know all that stuff in the context of like Russia, right? But like for an American, that is so inaccessible. That does not make any sense at all. And like, I love my friends. I love the idea of communism. I love the idea of everybody as an American. The idea of like communism is evil. Yeah, great, whatever. But also the idea of like communism in theory means everybody is taken care of, right? Like, yeah, I like the idea of everybody being taken care of. And also I get that people have issues with the practical applications of it, right? What does it actually mean to be a communist country? What does that look like in practice? But I like the theory of it, you know? Then every time one of my communist friends would actually explain the theory of it, I was not accessible to it. And I think that's a big issue that a lot of people have understood with modern leftists, modern communists, right? That's why we've seen so many split-offs from CPUSA, for example, right? That's like the real communist party in America. But we've seen so many split-offs, and it's not just ACP, right? It's like ACP, but it's also PSL, it's also like RCA and like CPI, and I don't even know, right? The DSA, there's like a million vaguely left, quote unquote, socialist, progressive, communist organizations, right? And I think if I had to understand what ACP is trying to do, their idea is basically saying like, if we actually want communism to happen, we need to make it happen, right? And like right now, everybody is just, you know, bopping it, if you know what I mean. And like, they're just existing in self-populatory circles, right? And like, I kind of would agree with that, right? It feels like most leftists, most communists that I've met historically through my life are like, they come from upper class families or like middle upper class families. They like support the idea in theory. They're kind of like me, right? Where they like the ideas in theory, but it's been inaccessible, right? Or like they make it accessible through theory. Because a lot of these people are like me. We're just like wordy, brainy people, right? And like, we have to exist in the world too, right? I personally, most of the time, enjoy existing in the world too, like this. If we feel like we want to make communism accessible, we need to like translate it into modernity, right? Over the weekend, I heard a couple of the comrades talking about, I was eavesdropping, so I'm sorry, but I'm not naming names, so I hope it's okay. But they were talking about Mao and like his right-hand man, and like how he created a book that just made philosophy extremely accessible to, sorry, I want to fix my hair, but I don't want to touch my hair with my nails. He made philosophy extremely accessible to the people of China, right? The peasantry. That's kind of who Mao cultivated favor with. He cultivated it with the peasants, not the elites, right? Like, I'm sure he had some elites on his side, but as like a rule, he was going for the peasants. Like Lenin was going for the workers, Mao was going for the peasants. That's kind of just the vibes. In America, maybe we should go for the people on the internet. Personally, that's my scale. That's what I'm thinking. A lot of these people at the Communist Party would disagree. They would say that's idealist. They might call me a Trotskyist for it. I'm just jesting. I'm just poking fun there. But I think what ACP is trying to do is create a communism that explains what it means to be practical rather than gatekeeping it to elitism. If we kind of think of the idea of like, you're only going to understand something if you have the time or the background knowledge to learn it. So like, it is important to know these Russians, for example, that my friend was talking about when she was explaining dialectical materialism. But it's also important to be able to explain dialectical materialism in a context-collapsed context, right? The people on the street, you can't rely on them to have a background knowledge or a willingness to learn about Russian history right off the go. Maybe you can get them to buy in after they have some concepts and things to bite into. But it's not gonna work if you try to like start with that. And I'm not saying my friend started with that necessarily. You know, I asked questions and that's what they said. But like, just kind of that idea of we always need to be ready to translate these things into extremely accessible forms for the masses. Right? The idea of communism is like a for the masses ideology. So you need to be able to translate it for the masses. And I'm pretty sure in America, it's like a 3rd grade or a 7th grade reading level in the masses on average, right? So like, it's important that we're appealing to the masses. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now I'm yapping. What I really wanted to come on here and like talk about was my experiences, right? So like, I heard so much fear mongering about ACP before I went, and you know, some of it seemed kind of justified. I watched a lot of clips of Haz, and like sometimes he has some flair, right?
Well, you're just talking like a Mongoloid.
I don't give a f***. I am a Mongoloid. In my heart, I'm a Mongoloid. That is what I am. We are a horde. That is what we are. Yes, we are that. We are 100% that.
Well, you're the one here chipping out, so...
I am chipping out, bitch, because I'm a fucking human being, and you're a little soy boy cuck little bitch. You don't know who the fuck I am.
Right? You know, he has a certain flair that can come across a little